y'all, it's Debbie with Taylor by Debbie, and as promised, this week I'm going to show you how to make my sunflower wreath. And what I like to use to make this is called poly deco mesh. It's just poly mesh, poly deco mesh. It does not have any jute or fabric or anything mixed with it. It's just this poly mesh material. And this is what happens to the edges if you do not cut it with a heat sealing tool. And what I'm going to use today is a wood burner. And you can buy these anywhere that they sell hobby supplies. Walmart sells them. My husband donated this one to me because he never used it. And they come with different tips. And the one I recommend that you use is this chisel tip. It's called a chisel tip. It's a little bit longer on one side. It's pointy. And when it heats up and gets hot, it works really well to cut through this mesh. Now, let's talk about what we're going to cut it on. I have a tempered glass cutting board that I have set on top of my regular cutting mat. I bought this off Amazon. It's clear. It doesn't have any bumps on it. It's smooth. And I recommend you get one of these so that you can cut on it safely. If you're going to be cutting indoors, I recommend you wear a mask because when you cut the plastic, it can be toxic, especially if you make a lot of these wreaths. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this piece right here, and I want to cut this edge just to get a nice clean edge over here. And I work best when I have it this way. I just have better control because I can, hold this down. And I believe this is heated up well enough. We'll see in a minute. When you're cutting this, you want to cut down between two, right in the middle of the squares in this mesh. There's little squares, and then there's lines going this way. You want to cut in between two of the lines that are going in this direction, and then it will fray less. We're just going to set it down, and then you're just going to, steadily and slowly just move it from one end of your glass cutting board to the other. Okay, when you get to the end, definitely use the little stand that comes with this because that gets super hot. But now you can see I've got one little straggly here that I am going to trim off with my scissors. Just one little scraggly string. And my heat tool may not have been hot enough, but as you can see, when you cut it with the heat tool, you get a nice clean edge. This was cut with just a rotary cutter, and over time it frays. These lines that go across it will just continue to come out, but when you heat seal it, it kind of melts it and keeps those pieces together better, longer, and keeps it from fraying. And we're going to need to cut 10 by 10 squares. The poly mesh comes in a 10-inch by 10-yard roll. You can buy these anywhere where they make and sell wreath supplies. You may have to buy it online. Deco Exchange carries it. I believe the Wreath shop carries it as well. I buy it from my wholesale supplier, which is Sims Pottery. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm just going to lay these pliers on here to kind of hold this end down. And then I'm going to come over here to where my 10-inch mark is. And you want to try to cut these even so your squares will be square. But there again, you want to do your chisel tip, the short end down first. You want to cut in between two of those squares. And as it gets warmer, just be careful not to touch this to your skin, y'all, because it will burn. These are very hot. Extremely hot. Not for children. Definitely not for children. Okay. Just going to set this back on this little stand. Okay. I'm actually going to hold this end I'm holding this side, so I'm going to lay this over here to keep this from rolling back up. Just want to measure and get over here to your 10-inch mark. Put your heat tool, which I am using what's called a wood burner. Normally this is used to burn designs on wood, but it does a great job. Yeah, now it's hot enough. It does a great job to cut this poly mesh and seal it when it cuts it. Okay? Alright. Just do not touch that end, y'all. Okay, let's move these scissors out of the way. Go ahead and get your end placed down. Measure it. Find where you want to start cutting. And you're going to put your shortest tip of the chisel going down, and then you're just going to cut between 2 rows of the mesh. And if it curves a little bit while you're cutting, it's okay. Just stay between the 2 lines of the mesh, okay? Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with all of my yellow, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, now we have all of our pieces of mesh cut, and I've just kind of pushed them over to the side. We can move our glass cutting board because we're done with that for now. And the next thing we're going to do is load our wreath board. Now, when I make a sunflower wreath, a full-size one, I like to use the large, Unique in the Creek wreath boards. They're based out of Canada. I buy mine from Amazon because I have an Amazon Prime account and I get free shipping with that. But these are just under 16-inch rounds, it looks like here. About 15.5-inch rounds. And they come with the holes already cut. And if you'll notice on the board, there's 2 holes that are close together. And it's kind of directly above where the Unique in the Creek is. So that's where the hanger is going to go. I always start from the outside of the wreath and I work my way into the center. Let me just get some of this yellow out of the way here, because we're going to start with our leaves, which will be on the outer edge. Okay, but before we do that, we need to do what's called load our board. Now, I like for the Unique in the Creek made in Canada to be inside the wreath, so that's not showing on the back of the wreath. I like just the smooth back without the words on it. So I'm going to see if these little 4-inch zip ties are going to be, I think these are going to be too short. These are too short. I usually use either a 6 or an 8-inch. You just want zip ties that are small enough that they can fit through these holes. And this one here is an 8-inch. So you're just going to take it with the word side and you're going to put these zip ties through where we want to have the leaves. Now I'm going to make 4 bunches of leaves. So here's the top. If we count out from there 1, 2 and put a leaf here and then skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then put a leaf here and here, I think that would be pretty. So we're going to come over here and put a leaf here. And to do that, you're just going to load it on the outer one. You're just going to load it and zip it a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over here for your outer one. And again, I want the words on the inside, so we're going to be placing all of our petals on the side with the letters. That's just my preference. You don't have to do that. Okay, then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to come down here, kind of have them 4 places around the wreath. And then the other holes, you'll just leave blank on the outside. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I like to spread the leaves out kind of equally. Now to make the leaves, let me put this out of the way. you're going to take your piece of mesh. You've got your factory edges and then your heat sealed edges. Okay, however you decide to fold it, you need to be consistent in the way you fold it so your petals will all look uniform and your leaves will all look uniform. So I'm just coming from one corner to the other. I'm going to fold that in half. Try to get it, you know, to where it's as even as possible. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to scrunch up the middle. Okay, kind of looks like angel's wings right now, doesn't it? And then we're just going to take those wings and pull them together, bunch that up. Okay, now we're going to take that leaf, going to put it underneath that zip tie, and then we're going to pull that tight. You want to kind of leave a little more than a finger width underneath your leaf, okay? And they're going to kind of go out to the side, and that's okay. We can take our wire cutters and just snip that off once you get it tight. And if you have any loose little strings, you can clip them off with that as well. Now you want to handle this as least amount as possible. And then what I like to do is try to pull the heat sealed edge in a little bit to the center and let that factory edge be what's showing on the outside. Okay, so we're going to do that again. And I cut more mesh than I'm actually going to need for leaves, but I wanted to show y'all how I was cutting them. So we're only going to put 4 leaves on here. You can put more if you want to. You don't have to put any leaves if you don't want leaves. You can just have the yellow petals all the way around, and that's pretty too. Okay, so we have folded that in half, scrunching it up the middle, and then we're going to pull those angel wings together. Then we're going to come over here to our next place we want a leaf. Okay, and we're just going to pull that tight and then snip that off. Then you can take those zip ties, once you've snipped them off, and kind of turn them toward the center of the board, just so that end of that little zip tie right there won't stick anybody, or, you know, won't catch on the outer part. That'll just keep that tucked inside of the wreath. I'm going to do that 2 more times. We need to finish loading our board. So now I'm going to turn it over. Our leaves are on the underside, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the zip ties, just going to get a handful of them here, and we are going to put them, fold them in half, make sure that flat end is going toward the middle. And if you have a zip tie that's small enough to go through here, you could just stick it through, but these are not. So actually I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to fold that zip tie in half with the flat head toward the center. Okay, I'm going to put it down one, kind of like you're sewing. Put it down one and come up the next one right beside it. And it helps if you just lift it up and look. Okay, and then we're just going to leave it open. Right, so you go down and up. Make sure the flat end's toward the center, and then just let it go. You kind of make sure they're even in there. We're going to put one in all of the outer holes. Now, not the very, very outer ring. That's our leaf ring. But this is our outer petal ring, so we're going to put one in all of these, one in all of these, one in all of these, and these right here. So I'm going to speed up the video. I'm going to load this board, and then I'll be right back. Okay, Okay, now we've got them in all the outer ones. You're gonna notice in this next row there's extra holes. So we're gonna start out just putting them where the two holes are together. And then we're gonna skip the one hole. And then we're gonna come over here and just skip one in between. We just want to do the double holes that are close together to begin with, and then we'll see if we want to add any extra petals. The holes are there in case you want to make your flower really, really full of petals that you can then take and go from this hole to that hole and that hole to that hole as well if you wanted to, and add extra. But today we're gonna start out with just the two holes. I'm going to go ahead and load the rest of the board, and then I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I thought I was recording and I did not press record. So what I've done is I've gone through all the zip ties that I've loaded and I've just zipped them slightly. Okay, that's going to make it a lot easier for you once you've done your leaves and you've loaded all of your zip ties. Go ahead and just secure them. Let me go ahead and cut this one off. I had already folded a few of the petals and I thought I was recording, but I was not. So I'm going to show you again how I fold these petals and attach them onto our wreath. Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side. To make the flower petals, you're going to take your piece of mesh, and again, you want to make sure you're consistent with how you place the mesh in front of you. Now, I like to take the factory edges and put them on each side, and then I take the bottom right corner and I fold it up to this corner, on my upper corner on my left. And when I'm folding, I want to take my heat sealed edge and bring it just inside. This is how I do it. I have not seen other crafters do it this way, but this is how I do it. I bring it just a little bit to the inside of where that factory edge is. Okay, now this factory edge, I'm going to pull just a little beyond the heat sealed edge here, so that when I'm folding my petal, I still try to get that as neat and a point as I can, but when I'm making my petal, it's going to have that factory edge be the prominent edge on my wreath. Okay, so I've just folded it in half, overlapped the factory edge on this side, and then I've taken that heat sealed edge and come just inside the factory edge here. Okay, so your folds on the outer corners are going to be a little bit off, but that's okay because that's going to get tucked into the center of your petal. Okay, so once you have it folded in half, you're going to take the center and just pull it out a little bit, and then you're going to scrunch it up in the middle. And then what I like to do is the part that's away from me, I pull it toward me in 3 little scrunches. 1, 2, 3. And then that little corner that's left, I just take and kind of pull it in. Okay, then you can kind of shake that edge of the petal, turn the whole thing around, still holding it. And then you're going to do 3 scrunches on this side. 1, 2, 3, and then just pull all that. So you see where these corners being uneven does not matter. Okay, now we're going to take and pull these factory edges, make sure they're what's prominent. Now I got a rogue piece of poly mesh that's coming it's raveling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to cut it just where it's unraveled to. Okay, and I'm just going to, well, that one just pulled off. So I'm going to pull that one out, and I got one more here. See how easily it frays, guys, even if you heat seal it. So you got to use caution and care when you're working with this poly mesh so that your end product is going to come out as pretty as possible. Okay, so I cut off those rogue ones. That one I'm going to leave because I don't think it's going to show. It's going to be inside the wreath. Sometimes you can just kind of push it back down in there. Well, no, that one's going to come out too. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that one piece off. That was on the factory edge. Then we're going to pull this over. Stick your mesh in there about the same we did with our leaves, just a little bit more than a finger width beyond the zip tie. Pull it tight into the side and then snip it off. You want to pull it as tight as you can get it, and then you're going to just take this leaf, open it up. Okay, y'all, gotta be so careful. This piece is unraveling a little bit. And you want to overlap each leaf just a little bit as you're going around. This edge is going to be overlapped onto the one beside it, okay? So now we have 4 petals on here. I'm going to show you a couple more times. So open it up, and you want your factory edges. I like to do it side by side. Just be consistent, however you decide works best for you. Okay, then I'm going to come over here, folding my right corner up over to the left corner, and I'm keeping this heat sealed edge just inside that factory edge. And then this factory edge, I'm going to pull just beyond my heat sealed edge. Okay, we're going to pull it just beyond that. I believe this is called a Dean Michael petal, but I could be wrong. I did not create this kind of petal, y'all. All right, I'm going to pull here, squeeze in the middle, pinch, 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 and then just scrunch that last little piece. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Just kind of pull that last little piece in. Okay. Hold it together. Gently shape it a little bit. Bring our wreath over here. You're going to go to the next one. Come inside that zip tie. Overlap this petal beside it just a little bit. Zip tie it tight. Pull it down to the side and clip it off. And that's all there is to it, y'all. Once you get the zip ties loaded onto your board and your petals made, it goes pretty fast. Just want to get the end of that zip tie a little better. Okay, and you want to pull those zip ties tight so the petals cannot get pulled out easily, okay? Let's do one more petal, and then I'm going to speed up the video and do the whole outer edge for you, and then we'll come back. All right, my factory edges are on each side. I'm going to take the bottom right corner and fold it up, keeping this heat sealed edge that I cut with my wood burning tool just on the inside of this factory edge. So that's going to make that edge of this petal look prettier. I'm going to take this factory edge, gently pull it beyond the heat sealed edge on the underside of this petal. Okay, then you're going to kind of crease it, pull this out just a little bit, pinch it in the middle, and then scrunch it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Just fold that little extra piece, turn the whole thing around. 1, 2, 3. Scrunch it, kind of hold it in the middle, keep it all together. Okay, and then you can kind of shape your petal just a little bit. Try to keep that corner up there at the top. If it frays down here at the very bottom, I don't worry about it too much because it's going to be covered up by the next row when we lay it down. Okay, so we're going to come in here, put it down, make sure this is overlapping the one beside it just a little bit. Okay, get it tight, pull it to the side, and snip it off. All right, guys, I'm going to speed up the video. I'm going to do this rest of the interior row, and then I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, here is what our wreath looks like with just our outer edge done. And guys, this makes a huge wreath. This board right here is 24 inches wide, and it's going a little bit beyond 24 inches. So this is going to be a very pretty statement wreath for your door. Now we're just going to go and do the same thing. We're going to put on this next row, we're going to put one petal in each one of these areas, and I will stop the video and come back when I have that next row done. Okay, y'all, so now you'll see this row does not overlap as much as the first row did. You just kind of want to shape them and, you know, spread them out to make them look nice and full in this area. And then we have these sections right here that we're going to do next. Have 4 more in the center, and let's see, I've got 1. See, y'all, let me make sure I didn't drop any on the floor. I did not. I'm short. This has happened before, and if you get in a pickle like that and you don't have any more of the yellow, what you can do is you can come back down here somewhere. Let's see, where is our hanger? Our hanger is here. What we can do is we can put some more leaves here and here and take a yellow leaf from it. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take out this yellow leaf right here, and we're going to use that in the center. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Sometimes you have to think outside the box and get creative, because I don't want to, you know, get rid of this whole wreath just because I'm 2 petals short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another leaf in place of where that yellow petal was on each side. Okay, we're going to do those the same way we did earlier. Just scrunch up the middle, turn it in. Okay, now I'm going to need a couple more zip ties. Let's turn this over. It'll be a little bit challenging. We've got to go to where our little holes were, and we're going to load it. Make sure that flat side is going to be toward the middle, just like we did before when we loaded our board. Okay. We're going to turn it over. And we're going to carefully move those petals out of the way, and we're going to put our leaf right there. Okay? And that leaf is going to fill in the space where that yellow petal was, and it's going to be okay. If you weren't watching my video, you probably would not even know it, y'all. Just kind of pull these over. Pull the yellow on top of the leaves. Get the factory edge over. And there you go. Okay, that's our solution. So if you don't have an extra roll, which I thought I did, but I must have already used that up. I've made a lot of these sunflower wreaths, guys. And I usually have that extra roll, which I did, but it only had a teeny little piece of the mesh left on it. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to turn it over, find those 2 holes, take our zip tie, and when we load it, we want to make sure that the flat end's going to be up. Okay, so you're going to go in and then pull it up through the bottom very carefully. Okay, we can zip that closed. And we're going to take one of our green pieces and we're going to make our leaf. Okay, just kind of fold it down, scrunch it up the center, fold it towards you like so, and then we're going to put it in here and zip tie it down. All right, crisis averted, y'all. Okay, so next we're going to put the last 4. Now we've already got some petals that were made, so I'm going to just scrunch them back up in the middle, shape them, and we're going to put them in the middle. Now in the middle ones, I'm going to pull it a little bit further because I want it to be wide and cover up this center part. So I'm going to pull it, well, probably not. I'm probably still going to pull it about a finger, maybe just at a finger width on the inside instead of a little bit extra. And then we can just spread this out. And when we put the center there too, that's going to help cover up the middle as well. Okay. So we've got our yellow piece, folding it the same way. I should have made a purple flower. I got plenty of the purple over there, y'all. But it wouldn't have been a sunflower, and I promised y'all a sunflower, so we're making it work. Okay. Another thing I've seen people do too is every other row alternate colors and make, you know, multiple color flowers, and those are pretty as well. Okay, we're just going to spread it out, making the factory edge be prominent on each side, and this one's coming unraveled, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull that one out. Try not to pull on the mesh any more than you have to because it will fray, y'all. Okay, this petal was already made, so I'm going to carefully reshape it since I pulled it out. Put him in here. Fold it under, pull this tight. You can fold it down to either side, it doesn't matter. Just pull that out. All right, guys, we got one more, and we'll be done with our petals. I hope some of y'all are going to give this a try. Okay, we're going to pull that one in here. Okay, now we just want to fluff these out as full as we can to help cover up the middle like so. And then when we put our round in there, it's going to cover up the rest. Let me get the supplies and I'm going to show you how I made my center, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, to make the center, what I use is these floral foam circles. They come 2 to a pack at Dollar Tree. You're only going to need 1 of them. You're going to need some string that's really strong. And you're going to need a fabric that has a little bit of stretch to it and some pipe cleaners, okay? So what I do is I take my fabric, just open it up. Let's see here. And you're going to want to cut enough that you can gather it on the back and tie it with the string. So I just kind of pull it around and see about how much I'm gonna need, and cut yourself like a square of it, okay? Are these scissors gonna cut? Yeah. Not the sharpest in the bunch, but they're not bad. See, these circles are 4 by 8 inches in diameter, and I'll tell you here in a sec about how big our little square is here. And the stretchy material helps you be able to pull it tight and make it look really neat. So now you're going to pull up your 4 corners. Well, let me measure this for you. It's about 12 by 11. So let me just go ahead and cut that off across here, and it'll be an 11-inch square approximately of stretchy fabric. It's a polyester stretchy fabric, and I like it because it has the black and white, and I think that looks pretty against the yellow. All right, just put this in the center, pull up your 4 corners, and then you're going to pull up the other 4 little corners. Just kind of pull it all up to the center, gather it as tight as you can get it, and then I'm going to take, I can find them, yes, these are little rubber bands that they sell at the Dollar Tree too, just little rubber bands for putting your hair in ponytails and stuff. And I'm going to take one of these and just kind of put it around it to preliminarily hold it. I would not use this as the permanent hold because these will dry rot, and they're not very sturdy. They will break. It may break when I pull it over here. But then when you have that on there, you can kind of take and pull your fabric, get your fabric pulled up inside that band, kind of snug, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to tie your string around it. But see how cute that's going to look on our wreath for the center? Just want to pull it up and get it as, you know, snug as you can. And you're going to take a piece of this string. Let's see, it looks like I can pull some of this fabric up even better. Just go ahead and pull up as much of it as you can with the little rubber band on it. Being careful not to break it if you can. It'll make it easier on you when you're putting this on. Okay, now you're going to try to tie this just as tight as you can get it. And you don't have to worry about taking that. Whoa, I broke it. This might not be a strong enough string. Let me tie it and not pull it quite that tight. Tie it 3 times at least to make sure it won't come untied. And you don't have to worry about taking off the rubber band. If it dry rots, it's fine. This string is going to hold it. And then you're just going to pull your fabric and get it as tight as you can get it. Okay? Just pull, pull, pull. Now I say as tight as you can get it. You don't want to pull it so tight that it's going to make your fabric real thin on the front and see-through. But you want it to be pretty on the front where there's no wrinkles. And I think we're about there, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna tie one more piece of string just for extra security. Can't hurt to have it extra. Not gonna yank so hard this time. I didn't realize my strength, y'all. All right. So we're gonna tie that at least 3 times. Cut it off. Then we're gonna cut this excess fabric off. Use a sharper pair of scissors, y'all. It will help. This one's needing to be sharpened, I think. But it's doing the job. Okay. Now I'll take an added measure, kind of spreading this out, and I'm going to squirt a little bit of hot glue right in the center, just kind of all around right there to help hold that fabric together too, okay? Keep it from pulling back through. All right, then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take two pipe cleaners. I'll use 2 just for added security again. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to poke a little hole through the fabric, kind of toward the center, through the fabric and through part of that styrofoam. Probably need a sharper pair of scissors here, guys. And an X-Acto knife works really well for this too. I think I'll use my X-Acto knife instead because it's really sharp. You're just going to cut through the fabric and some of that styrofoam. You don't want to go all the way down. And then we're going to put some hot glue right down in that hole we just cut. Keep your eye on the hole, y'all, because it'll disappear on you. Stick a little bit of hot glue down in there. And then you're going to take this pipe cleaner and stick it down in there and then kind of mash it together. And that's how we're going to attach our center, okay? We'll do the same thing over here. Just cut a slit in the styrofoam and through the fabric, just a little one. Take your hot glue, stick it down in that hole, squirt 1 squirt of hot glue down in there. Take your folded pipe cleaner, stick it down in there, and then just kind of squish the fabric back around it on each side. And we're gonna let that dry, okay? So I'll be right back. All right, guys, now that this is completely dry, and when you tug on them, it's not gonna come out of there, okay? What I like to do, because of the way I made this flower center, instead of using those 2 holes that are in the center of the wreath, when I make a center like this, I'll come and use the same holes that these petals were attached into, kind of diagonally across from each other. So I'm gonna stick these 2 down inside those 2 holes right here, the same holes that we put our petals in. Be very careful, get underneath there and feel them coming through, kind of pull it down, and then you're going to do the same thing over here diagonally across from it, okay? Put your pipe cleaners through those holes, and we're going to flip this wreath over so you can see what I'm doing on the back. Okay, then we're going to pull those pipe cleaners tight. We're going to twist several times on each one. Okay, then we're going to cut that off. Then we're going to cut that off, and then you're just going to kind of stick your pipe cleaner back down into one of the holes, okay? Just like that. Twist it tight, and then stick that pipe cleaner back down into one of the holes so the back is nice and flat and neat. And y'all, the only thing that's left to do now is any additional fluffing that you want to do to cover up any of the center. And you can pull these center ones apart just a little bit to help fill in that gap there in the center. Just a little bit. Making sure your factory edges are on the outside on each one. But y'all, that's it. We're done. Only thing left to do is to add a hanger. And what I like to do is take a pipe cleaner. We're going to turn it over. Picking it up by the plastic part, just take the whole thing and turn it over. And you're going to find the place on the wreath where the two holes right here, where those two holes are closest together. So what I like to do is stick the pipe cleaners from the back through to the front. And then I take this and twist, twist, twist. Twist it several times to make sure it's not going to come out. Tuck that tail down in there. And now there's no rough edges of the pipe cleaner, and there's your wreath hanger. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I hope you give it a try. I will post a picture of it hanging up. I'll probably go out on my fence and hang it up and take a picture of it and put it at the end of the video here. I will put the supplies on my description box of this video with a link to my Amazon recommendations for where I bought the Unique in the Creek boards from. But thanks so much for watching, and y'all have a blessed day.